Fellow Nigerians, it is no longer news that the government of Muhammadu Buhari now resort to shooting Nigerians that protest on the street in quest of justice. But we must refuse to be intimidated. Since they have decided to kill our people at home, we have also decided to bring world attention to what is going on in Nigeria. I have here in my hands a letter which I would like to read to you. This letter has been addressed to the President of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, who will be replaced in November by Ursula von der Leyen. A copy of this same letter was sent to the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, before the travel visa ban was placed on Nigerian politicians. It is very laughable that the same president of Nigeria that refused to respect court order to grant bail to Zakzaki has gone to court to seek an order to declare Zakzaki's Muslim movement, the Islamic movement of Nigeria, a terrorist group. Nigeria belongs to each and every one of us, and we must refuse to be intimidated. Now, I would like to read a copy of this letter to you, and Nigerians should watch out for the outcome. Your Excellency, the President of the European Commission, Brussels, Belgium. I am Frederick Odorige. I write to you with all sense of humility on behalf of the Global Coalition for Security and Democracy in Nigeria, made up of Nigerians resident in 40 countries all over the world. We operate under the platform of the Nelson M46664 Human Rights Association, Hungary. We wish to bring to your urgent notice the precarious situation in our country, Nigeria, which self-seeking politicians have turned into a national embarrassment. We are addressing you today because of our respect for the cherished democracy of the European Union and your continued support to our country, to strengthen democratic institutions, promote good governance, counter corruption, improve security, and build institutional capacity. Sadly, despite your efforts and our huge natural resources, our self-seeking rulers continue to fail over and over again in terms of the provision of welfare and security, which forms the cornerstone of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Our dear country, Nigeria, is on the verge of total collapse. If it happens, it will threaten regional security from a country of 201 million persons. No doubt, it will negatively impact on your huge investment in our country. The collapse of Nigeria will increase irregular migration, affect world economy, and threaten global peace. Mr. President, there is fire on the mountain. Our coalition does not play politics with the development of our country, which has been destroyed by the ruling party known as the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party. They have failed our people in the last 20 years with earth-shattering policies that have stagnated our commonwealth. Today, we are experiencing uncommon hardship, corruption, and a level of insecurity that cannot be described in words. Killing has become a culture so much that the international community no longer commiserate with our country, nor send condolences whenever our people are killed in their numbers. The world has become used to our daily tragedies as a recurring decimal. With growing frustration, we are now 67th in the world in terms of suicide rate. We have around 16 million out of school children, and the number is growing. This is the population of 9 European countries. Children that are used every 4 years as underage voters and dumped by politicians thereafter, or sold as suicide bombers to terrorist groups. Murderous herdsmen and Boko Haram have killed more than 20,000 Nigerians within the last 10 years. Many of our people have been killed without graves Others have been buried in mass graves without marks of identification. More than 14 million of us are internally displaced, with 17 million in diaspora. Have you not seen photographs of our children whose brains were burst open, pregnant women who were raped and amputated, and men sliced like minced meat? For how long will you be silent, Mr. President, to the many incomprehensible tragedies of our people as you continue to play a leading role in global peace? Despite our huge resources, we are currently the poverty capital of the world, and the United Nations has projected that we shall remain so beyond 2050, when we shall become the third largest population in the world, with a population of 400 million persons. Mr. President, in the midst of our artificial poverty, Nigerian senators earn far more than you do. Back and forth, they rake home an average of 75,000 euro monthly. Yet, we are borrowing to finance our budget. It means that your annual salary of 306,655 euro is the salary of Nigerian senators in 4 months. Meanwhile, the world is gradually moving away from oil, which is our major source of revenue. About 20 lawmakers and others appointed by the Nigerian president have ongoing corruption cases in court. Huge amounts of money have been stolen by our politicians and stashed in your banks and used in buying properties in your countries, while 98 million of us are living in multi-dimensional poverty. That is the population of 19 European countries. The gross abuse of human rights is appalling, as over 1,000 Shiite Muslims have been killed for demanding justice for the unlawfully detained leader, Sheikh El-Zakzaky. The contemptuous arrogance of our current government against the rule of law is appalling, as it is despicable. Biafran agitators have been wrongly declared a terrorist group, while Fulani herdsmen that continue to massacre Nigerians are being treated with kids' gloves. For example, in April 2018, when the President of the United States of America hosted President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria at the White House, Buhari said that herdsmen in Nigeria are usually not armed. That is very far from the truth, as they continue to kill our people with sophisticated weapons, especially with the AK-47. Again, when the Vice President of Nigeria, Yemi Osinbajo, visited the US on the 22nd of June 2019, he proclaimed that information on kidnapping and killing in Nigeria was being exaggerated. Ironically, when the same person returned to Nigeria, he made a contrary statement in the city of Akure on the 14th of July 2019, in which he said that killing in Nigeria has become out of hand. They continue to misinform the international community as if all is well in Nigeria. Without mincing words, we believe that your office in Nigeria could give you more clarifications. The report of the European Union on our previous presidential election clearly shows that it was condemnable. 58 Nigerians were killed, and the election was massively rigged. Is that what you will accept? We know that the freedom of the Nigerian people is in the hands of Nigerians, and we are set to fight for justice and equity. But we strongly believe that at this point, Nigeria needs international intervention. Should a country that has contributed to global peacekeeping since 1960 be left in disarray in times of need? We are talking about a country with the largest population of the black race and the largest economy in Africa. Remember that 112 of our girls kidnapped by Boko Haram since 2014 are still in captivity. Nigeria has become so bad that even former presidents of Nigeria have equally failed, have acknowledged before the current president that Nigeria has never been this bad. There is no gainsaying that under this present government, the government of Nigeria is fast becoming a failed state, sliding the way of Somalia, Venezuela, and the 100 black days of Rwanda, 1994. We do not pray to receive medicine after death. Mr. President, you are aware that the government of the United States of America recently placed travel ban on some recalcitrant Nigerian politicians. That is a very welcome development, and Nigerians are concurrently celebrating it. But more still needs to be done. In the light of this, Mr. President, we wish to respectfully ask your support with the following. 1. A travel ban on all Nigerian politicians and their families from entering the European Union for any reason. What Nigerian senators and members of executives receive annually is enough to build world-class hospitals and schools in all the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Their earning catapults poverty, and it is against international law. It is forbidden under paragraph 2 of Article 8 of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption for public officials to engage in self-dealing or illicitly providing herself emoluments that are unacceptable under international law. Nigeria is a party to that convention. 2. EU member states should stop any form of borrowing to Nigeria. Despite our monumental resources and revenue, this present government has plunged our country into debts running into billions of euro, and it is still counting. The $320 million recovered loot from former head of state Sani Abacha was allegedly shared among poor persons in Nigeria without verifiable evidences. $16 million was reported to have been spent on buying mosquito nets by this government, but Nigerians represent 25% of death body in Africa, 11% of maternal mortality, with the highest number of children in the world that will die before the age of 5, mostly from malaria-related illnesses. Yet our politicians travel abroad for medical care. 3. Stop grants to Nigeria. We are too rich to borrow or beg. The grants are corrupted and the aims are usually not fully achieved. It is better to build and supervise the structures instead of giving out cash to Nigerian politicians. Why give grants to a country with federal legislators and members of executives that earn far more than you do? 4. Support the return of our monies stashed in your banks and seize the assets bought in the European Union, stolen by our politicians from Nigeria. 5. Open special offices in Europe where Nigerians in diaspora could report suspected corrupt investments by Nigerian politicians. Such reports could aid your investigations. 6. Stop Nigerian politicians from sending their children to schools in the European Union as they abandon the development of education at home. They equally use their children and wives for money laundering. When their children graduate, they manage their parents' loots abroad and hardly return to Nigeria. 7. Give full support to fight insecurity and the menace of Boko Haram and the murderous herdsmen in Nigeria. We trust that you have the capacity to flush out terrorists in and around Nigeria within the shortest possible time if you decide to do so. The current government of Nigeria is playing politics with the blood of Nigerians. 8. Urge the Nigerian government to cancel the false declaration that the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, is a terrorist group. We fully disagree with this. because it is not the position of other Nigerians and the international community. Yet, we do not want Nigeria to divide. 9. Urge the Nigerian government to declare the murderous herdsmen as a terrorist group, since they have been declared as such by the international community. Mr. President, this letter has been written with the words of Martin Luther King Jr. in mind, in which he said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." Thank you.